How do you replace the irreplaceable without destroying everything you've built? The Toronto Maple Leafs are facing this soul-crushing reality as Mitch Marner prepares to walk away in free agency, leaving behind a 102-point void that could either be filled by a brilliant young talent or become the mistake that haunts this franchise for years to come. The Marner exodus. From 102 points to empty promises, let's start with the devastating truth that Maple Leafs fans are desperately trying to ignore. Mitch Marner is gone. After recording 27 goals and 75 assists for 102 points in 81 games last season, the franchise cornerstone is about to become someone else's superstar, leaving Toronto to pick up the pieces of what was supposed to be their championship core. GM Brad Treliving's recent comments to the media read like a funeral announcement for Toronto's championship dreams. Unless there's a significant change here, I would anticipate he's going to hit the market. That's management speak for we're about to lose our best playmaker, and we have no idea how to replace him. The ripple effects of losing Marner extend far beyond his individual production. He's been the creative engine that makes everyone around him better, the player who turns good opportunities into great ones and great opportunities into goals. Replacing 102 points isn't just about finding another scorer. It's about finding someone who can recreate the chemistry and hockey IQ that made Marner irreplaceable. Enter Dawson Mercer, the 23-year-old New Jersey Devils forward who represents either Toronto's salvation or their most expensive mistake. At $12 million over the next 2 seasons, Mercer embodies everything the Maple Leafs need right now: youth, skill, and the potential to become something special. But potential doesn't score goals, and special doesn't guarantee success. The Mercer mystery: untapped potential or fading promise. Dawson Mercer's career trajectory reads like a hockey riddle wrapped in frustration and hope. 2 seasons ago, he exploded for 27 goals and 56 points, looking like the breakout star that NHL scouts dream about finding. Then came last season's reality check: 19 goals and 36 points in 82 games, numbers that suggest either a sophomore slump or a player who might have already shown his ceiling. NHL analyst Anthony Petrielli captures both the intrigue and uncertainty surrounding Mercer. Young players who can skate and put the puck in the net are enticing any way you slice it. Mercer is still young enough to believe there's a bit more to unearth. This perfectly encapsulates the Maple Leafs dilemma. Are they acquiring a 23-year-old with untapped potential who just needs the right situation to flourish? Or are they trading for a player whose best season might already be behind him? The answer could determine whether Toronto remains a playoff contender or becomes another cautionary tale about misplaced faith in young talent. Petrielli's suggestion to play Mercer at center alongside William Nylander adds another layer of complexity. The Maple Leafs would essentially be betting that Mercer can handle increased defensive responsibilities while maintaining his offensive production. It's the kind of positional experiment that either creates unexpected chemistry or exposes weaknesses that were previously hidden. The Devils' dilemma: why New Jersey wants out. The most telling aspect of the Mercer situation might be New Jersey's apparent willingness to trade him. When NHL insider Nick Kypreos puts a 23-year-old with 56-point upside on his trade bait board, it raises serious questions about what the Devils see that other teams might be missing. Kypreos provides crucial context. GM Tom Fitzgerald vowed to find more offense this summer and that he wouldn't return with the same group of players in 2025-25. Translation: the Devils believe their current core isn't good enough, and Mercer has become expendable in their quest for better production. But here's where the story gets interesting and potentially concerning for Toronto. Kypreos notes that Mercer is 2 years removed from a 27-goal, 56-point breakout season and failed to hit the 20-goal plateau in 2024-25. These aren't the numbers of a player on an upward trajectory, they're the numbers of someone who might have peaked early and is now trending downward. The Devils' motivation to move Mercer suggests they view him as a player whose trade value might be higher than his actual contribution. That's either a massive miscalculation on New Jersey's part or a red flag that should have Toronto reconsidering their interest. The positional gamble: Center ice experiment. Petrielli's suggestion to use Mercer at center creates fascinating possibilities and terrifying risks. The Maple Leafs would be asking a player who's struggled to maintain offensive consistency to take on increased defensive responsibilities while playing alongside William Nylander, one of the league's most offensively gifted but defensively questionable players. The theoretical upside is enormous. If Mercer can handle center ice duties while maintaining his scoring touch, Toronto would have found a cost-effective replacement for Marner's production. The chemistry between Mercer and Nylander could create offensive combinations that opposing teams struggle to defend against. But the downside is equally significant. If Mercer can't handle the defensive responsibilities of playing center, the Maple Leafs could find themselves with a line that gets dominated in their own zone. Pairing two offensively gifted but defensively questionable players could create the kind of liability that costs teams in crucial playoff moments. The championship window calculation, the Maple Leafs' interest in Mercer reflects a franchise caught between competing priorities. They need to replace Marner's production immediately to remain competitive, but they also need to be smart about their long-term cap management. Mercer's $6 million average annual value over the next 2 seasons provides the kind of cost certainty that allows Toronto to build around him. At 23, Mercer fits the timeline of Toronto's core players. Austin Matthews is entering his prime, William Nylander is hitting his peak years, and John Tavares still has quality seasons remaining. Adding a young player with upside makes sense from both a competitive and financial perspective. But championship windows are unforgiving, and the Maple Leafs can't afford to waste years waiting for potential to become production. If Mercer takes 2 seasons to reach his ceiling, Toronto might find their window closed before he becomes the player they need him to be. The trade package reality: acquiring Mercer won't be cheap, despite New Jersey's apparent willingness to move him. The Devils will want meaningful assets in return, potentially including prospects, draft picks, or current roster players. Toronto would need to balance their desire to add Mercer with their need to maintain organizational depth. The complexity increases when considering salary cap implications. The Maple Leafs are already operating near the cap ceiling, making any significant addition require corresponding subtractions. They might need to move other players to create the space necessary to accommodate Mercer's contract. The make-or-break decision, the Dawson Mercer situation, encapsulates everything about modern NHL roster construction. Teams constantly balance present needs against future potential, cap management against competitive necessity, and proven production against developmental hope. For the Maple Leafs, Mercer represents a chance to replace some of Marner's production at a fraction of the cost. His age and skill set suggest he could grow into a significant contributor while providing the kind of roster flexibility that championship teams require. But he also represents the risk of betting organizational resources on a player whose best days might already be behind him. The Devils' willingness to trade him, combined with his declining production, creates legitimate questions about whether he's the answer Toronto needs. The Maple Leafs' decision on Mercer will reveal how they view their championship timeline and roster construction philosophy. Are they willing to bet on potential overproduction? Can they afford to experiment with positional changes while trying to remain competitive? The answers will determine whether this move becomes the stroke of genius that replaced Marner's production or the mistake that derailed their championship aspirations. What do you think about Toronto's potential pursuit of Dawson Mercer? Is he the young talent who could surprise everyone and fill Marner's void? Or would the Maple Leafs be better off looking elsewhere for their offensive upgrade? Share your thoughts in the comments, and hit that like button if you're as intrigued as I am by these roster moves that could completely change the direction of one of hockey's most scrutinized franchises.